Yeah, but sometimes it...
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Whit Taylor. Welcome to The Hop at Home with Harry Bliss. As I mentioned, I'm Whit Taylor. I'm a cartoonist, I'm an editor, and I'm a faculty member at the Center for Cartoon Studies, and I will be your host today. We have some thank yous in order, so I wanted to thank the Leslie Center for the Humanities at Dartmouth, the Hopkins Center at Dartmouth for hosting this event, for Will and Anne Family Foundation, especially Carl and Nancy Grober for their ongoing support. I'm really happy to have Harry Bliss with us today. He's going to be doing a presentation about his work and his book. He will be doing a live drawing, and then we will have some time for audience questions. So while he's doing all of this, you have some time to think about what you'd like to ask him. So Harry Bliss is a New York Times bestselling cartoonist since 1999. Bliss has published 25 plus books for children and thousands of cartoons. His first children's book, A Fine, Fine School by Sharon Creech, was a New York Times bestseller, as was Diary of a Worm, Diary of a Spider, and Diary of a Fly, all by Doreen Cronin. These award-winning diary books became the Bug Diaries, an animated series that is currently streaming on Amazon. His self-titled single-panel gag cartoon, Bliss, is syndicated internationally through Tribune Media Services and appears in over 100 newspapers in the United States, Japan, and Canada. In 2004, Bliss was awarded the Maurice Sendak Fellowship Award along with Nora Krug. His latest book, a collection of cartoons and comic strips with entertainer Steve Martin, A Wealth of Pigeons, was recently published and is a New York Times #1 bestseller. And he is also the founder of the Cornish CCS residency in Cornish, New Hampshire. So let's welcome Harry Bliss.
Thank you, Whit. It's great to be here. I'm playing with a little kneaded eraser right now. I don't know if you know what these are, but they're little squishy erasers that you can play with for really months, or if you want. They're just great. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's great to be here. And what I'm going to do is show you some artwork, about 20, 25 slides. I'm going to go through each slide and talk a little bit about them. Generally, there are many more slides in this presentation, but the time is kind of short, so we can't show them all. So a lot of this stuff is on Instagram. If you want to follow me there, there's a ton of work on Instagram. It's under Bliss Cartoons. So thank you, Whit. Thank you, CCS, and Dartmouth, and everybody else who's making this possible. Let's go to the first slide, if we could. This is 1990, and this was a cover that was a competition for Print Magazine when I was in art school. And I placed third in the cover design. And these are Dutch tiles. And it's kind of a eureka. It's very sequential if you look at them. Up there, there's a little painter. And at the very end, he has this sort of eureka moment. And this I'm still kind of impressed with this kind of trompe-l'oeil effect that I was able to achieve with watercolor. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is a more recent watercolor I did here in Cornish, New Hampshire, where I now live most of the time. And this is a little hill called Dingleton Hill Road. And I tend to do lots of outdoor paintings, similar to this, oftentimes a little looser. But I spend a lot of time outside. So this is what that is. Let's move to the next one. This is a unpublished cover of for the New Yorker, I should say. And there's Rudy Giuliani, who I really despise. There aren't too many people who I hate, but I hate Rudy Giuliani so much. So I'll talk about this, but I just wish that we could wash his face away. In any event, this cover was basically an idea that my cover editor, Francois Smouly at the New Yorker, sort of gave to me. And it's, at the time, there was an unarmed Haitian man, I believe, in one of the boroughs of Manhattan, who was shot many times by the New York City Police Department. And the Mayor Giuliani at the time was the mayor, but they didn't run the cover because at the same time, I think Giuliani had prostate cancer. That's my understanding. So they pulled the cover, and this was later reproduced in a book of unpublished covers that Abrams put out. You can see the Mad magazine influence here in the shadows, the kind of Sergio Aragonés effect. Okay, let's go to the next one. 2004, the lions in front of the New York Public Library. I was in the city at the time and walked by the library and just saw pigeons on the statues in front of the library. And in a flash, it really came to me. I just thought, how funny would it be if the lion came to life and just ate one of the pigeons? And that was the idea for the cover. I went back to Vermont, did a rough sketch, sent it to my editor, and they loved it. So there you have it. Let's go to the next one. I grew up watching just countless monster movies. My brother and myself would watch King Kong and where were all the Universal monsters. So when this King Kong movie came out that Peter Jackson directed, this kind of remake, I came up with this idea for a summer cover, and it really made me happy to have the opportunity to render Kong on the cover. And ultimately, I think Peter Jackson bought the sketch for this, and I think I still have the original. I don't know, but let's go to the next one. This is a detail of a cover that I did for the Weird Fiction Review, which is a really interesting publication. And the idea for the cover was they wanted, it was EC Comics was primarily the kind of theme of the whole issue, or most of it, I should say. And they wanted a Jack Davis kind of Tales from the Crypt feel for it. So this is a black and white ink close-up. And if we go to the next slide, there's the actual cover printed. And a good buddy of mine, this designer, John Butler, was able to help in the design of this and give it that kind of antiquated comic book, dog-eared look to it. So let's go on to the next one. This is a recent children's book illustration I did with a book called Sorry, Really Sorry, that I'm really proud of. My former editor, Joanna Kotler at HarperCollins, who I had worked with on 6 or 7 books, 3 of them bestsellers, wrote this manuscript. And it's a great manuscript. And if you get a chance, check it out. It's about essentially just saying you're sorry and meaning it, which I think kids should really, it'll be just great for kids. Let's go to the next one. This is a page from a book that Kate DiCamillo wrote and I illustrated. It's called Good Rosie. And I worship dogs, so it gave me the opportunity to kind of do these watercolor illustrations in a comic sort of format. And it's a little Jack Russell Terrier there. We can go to the next one. This is actually an original Ludwig Bemelhem sketch that I was able to purchase at auction. Apparently this was going to be a book. I'm just joking. That's not true. It's just a little joke. I like to play jokes on people and make them laugh. So there you go. Madeline Gets High. Let's go to the next one. This cartoon, not that old, says, "You see, honey, no lousy coronavirus. Coronavirus is going to get us out here, way out here." So it's an opportunity for me to address a current issue and also drop in Leatherface. And I'm particularly proud of the way the background came out in this. That's a 4B lead used for that. It's a rapidograph pen and a 2B, but primarily I stick with the 4B lead to get that really rich graphite look. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm not going to read this. You can read it yourself. But I really like this cartoon. It makes me laugh just because the word meow is just really a funny word. And oftentimes in cartooning, you kind of, someone will say a word or you'll read a word and it'll speak to you. It'll sort of say, this word needs to be in a cartoon. And that was the case in this particular cartoon. Okay, we can go to the next one. Gluten recalls a time before the intolerance. I really like this cartoon too. I'm trying to stay away from gluten these days myself, but this kind of makes me feel bad for the little guy, you know. Good old days, getting high, waiting for the pizza. Okay, we can go to the next one. Yeah, Charlie Brown and the Kite, huh? Little drone going on there. Pull him up over, that's Mount Ascutney. If you live in the area, you'll recognize that landscape. I can see that right now looking out my studio window. Okay, we'll go to the next one. I really like this cartoon, and this came to me while I was driving back and forth from Burlington, Vermont to New Hampshire. And many times I will spot falcons or various birds of prey along the highway, and they look so regal, so impressive. And that's really where this cartoon idea came from. Okay, we'll go to the next one. This one still kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Yeah, it's self-explanatory. But again, the rich graphite and stylistically, this work, the look of these cartoons came from my love of lithographs. And I had a friend in art school who was just a fantastic lithographer. And I really always wanted my drawings to resemble lithographs. Okay, let's go to the next one. Crime scene. You can read this one. This was kind of fun to do. Again, the chiaroscuro lighting here, sort of dramatic lighting comes from my love of film noir movies, in addition to my infatuation with EC comics and people like Johnny Craig, Jack Davis, Graham Engels, all those terrific EC comic artists. Okay, go to the next one. This is just sick. So there you go. It's just a little sick cartoon that I really enjoy. And when I used to visit elementary schools all over the country, I would slip this one in, and boy, the teachers really gave me a hard time about it afterward. Oh, well, let's go to the next one. I keep a journal, Moleskine, and I also have a few really wonderful fountain pens that I write and draw with every morning and every night. Some days I will procrastinate cartoon work just to sort of draw in my journal. So I always recommend people to do this whenever they get the opportunity. So this is an example of a page from my journal. Let's go to the next one. This is the most recent cover I did for the New Yorker. This is actually a sketch, and this cover was a sort of a real collaboration between myself, Francois Mouly, Art Spiegelman, David Remnick, and you know, the people around me, my son, my wife. Everybody sort of looked at this and helped me with it. So let's go to the next one. And there's the actual cover, and you can see that this is actually based on a Charles Addams cartoon, a full-page New Yorker cartoon of the two little Addams family children throwing logs into the fire to eventually burn Santa Claus as he's coming down the fireplace. So we took the essential composition from that Charles Addams cartoon, and Francois really wanted me to emulate that as best that I could. And you can see there's a lot going on here, but it was very successful. And I'm so happy that Art Spiegelman was really in on this, because it was his suggestion to put the Clorox and the little glasses of champagne. And I think he initially wanted Father Time there to be on a gurney, which we just pulled back a little bit from that because I think Remnick thought that might be a little too much. Okay, let's go to the next one. I started working with Steve Martin, probably be about 2 years soon, if it hasn't already. He was at a party with Francois, a dinner, I should say, and he had some cartoon ideas and asked her if he knew any cartoonists, and she suggested me. And we email fairly regularly. We have been for the past 2 years, and he's a great guy. I really like working with him. He's a great collaborator. He has no ego, which I love. We're both big art collector. Well, he's a hell of a bigger collector than I am, but we're art enthusiasts. So yeah, okay, we'll go to the next one. This is one of our cartoons, our collaborations, which I really like. And drawing the little hands, what are they called? I don't even know what they're called. Feet? What are the duck things on the gun? That was really hard to draw. Let's go to the next one. Another one of Steve's I liked. Little ashtray in the attic and sitting in a box, and it says, the good old days. Okay, we can go to the next one. Still life with fruit and terribly drawn fish. I feel like I could have drawn the fish a little bit worse. But again, this was a great opportunity for me to just tap into some of the my academic background a little bit and have fun. Okay, go to the next one. That's Neptune, and he says, hold on, the internet is really slow here. And this cartoon idea came, it's interesting because the actual caption wasn't a cartoon caption. Steve was on a boat heading to some island with Martin Short they were doing like a vacation thing. And we were communicating, and he literally wrote, hold on, the internet is slow here. He communicated that to me in an email because I had sent him an image. But for some reason, what he wrote sounded like a caption to me. And that's just the way it goes sometimes, for me at least. So then I wrote that back to Steve. And then I said, do you have any images that would fit that, what you just wrote to me? And he came up with 2 or 3 things. And this was one of them. So we go to the next one. This is my favorite sequential, strip from the book, Wealth of Pigeons. And because it's so true, when you live in New Hampshire or Vermont, ticks really suck. So you have to be really vigilant about doing tick checks every day. And so I just like the idea that, Steve and I got naked and do a little tick check. It strikes me as funny. Okay, go to the next one. And that's the cover, Wealth of Pigeons. And I'm working on the next book with him. And that's my dog, Penny. That's not on the cover. I added that. But Penny is on the cover, and she's on a bunch of New Yorker covers. And she's 17 now, so she's getting pretty old. But it's fun to work on this next book, because Steve will often say, let's put Penny in this one. So he's very open to that whole idea. And I think that's it as far as the pictures go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Harry. That was really great. It was just really fun to see just your range as an artist, from doing children's books to doing gags for the New Yorker to even your collaboration with Steve. It's really, really cool. And actually, I have the book right here, and I took Post-it notes and kind of so I could keep track of some of my favorite of your comics. And you do have a way with dogs, I must say. It's pretty fantastic. So I definitely recommend getting this book. It's like a quick, fun, witty read. It's great. So we have the live drawing portion next. And how are you doing with that, Harry? Are you all about set, or how's it going?
Maybe just give me 1 more minute.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can share with you one of my favorite comics, I suppose. Let's see. I love the Myth of Sisyphus. I think this one's really great. There's also a sketch of it, in fact. Just really fun to learn about their process working together. And I'm sure we can get into that a little bit more when he starts the live drawing. So you ready to go?
I think so, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome, Harry.
Okay, so I wanted to just start off by showing you this. This is actually original art, so people just get an idea what the originals look like. And I work on a certain paper. It's a acid-free paper. And this is a finished cartoon. I don't know if you can see the caption here. So it's, it's a lot of fun to, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry about that. Oh, all right. Just give me a second. Jesus. Hold on a second, Whit. Sorry. Oh, for crying out loud. All right. Just bear with me. Everyone relax. Just everybody take a breath. We're going to be just fine. Everyone relax. And we're back. Hey, April Fools, Whit. Did you get that? That's a little joke. April Fools, everybody? Good times.
You had me for a minute there. I was a little bit scared for you. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, this is the drawing part, and I'm sorry to do that to get you with the April Fools. I never do April Fools, but I couldn't help myself. So, yeah, you can ask questions and stuff. I'm going to work on this drawing right now. As I said before, I use a 4B lead.
That's what I was just going to ask you.
Yeah. And I've already sort of rendered some of this in. And one of the things I'm always cognizant of when I'm drawing, especially in this, well, in all aspects of the drawing, but in this portion, I want to know where the light source is coming from. And I keep saying that when I do these sort of demos on, Instagram and stuff, is, to really be aware of where the light source is coming from. It's very, very important. And let me just get this here.
So when you're making your gags, what usually comes first? Is it the writing, like the idea that strikes you, or do you often just feel motivated to draw something? I know you mentioned you love drawing dogs, for instance. What usually happens for you?
When I'm coming up with ideas for gags?
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's just, well, it could be something somebody says, a word. It could be looking at an image. It could be walking in the woods. But oftentimes I start off with a drawing. I start off drawing something that appeals to me, whether it's a dog being walked by someone, which you'll see countless times in my cartoons. Just trying to think. Yeah, it usually starts with a drawing, and then what I do is I'll stare at that drawing, kind of imagine a narrative that is taking place before the drawing and after the drawing.
Yeah.
And then whatever that narrative is, that'll kind of inform a caption. So if it's a couple, let's look at this one, for example. It's a dog and a squirrel at a press conference. So in this particular instance, Steve actually wrote some of these captions. Can you read these? I want to make sure you.
Yeah, they're clear.
Yeah. So this was. I'm trying to think where this idea came from. It might have been from watching a Bob Dylan documentary where he's at a press conference.
Yeah.
And maybe I was thinking, boy, maybe it'd be funny if there were a cat and a dog at a press conference. That could be funny somehow. What would they be asking the cat and the dog? So you go through this thing where you create this scene, and then you kind of let your imagination kind of roam around the possibilities of what the dialogue could happen within that scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How is that different from, when you're doing it alone versus when you were working with Steve?
It's different because he's doing the work. He's writing,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, for example, he wrote most of these captions here, like, how do you like being called influencers? And, so yeah, that's when Steve's doing stuff with me. It's much easier for me just because it's less work. But,
yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm collaborating, and sometimes it works, other times it doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm just mesmerized by your pencils. It's just as a cartoonist. I'm kind of just getting drawn in. I saw, I mean, yesterday when we were checking in, I saw that you had some other interesting tools, including some with feathers. I know that they're not on screen right now, but can you tell us a little bit about some of the other tools that you like working with?
Yeah, I do. And I can, I have a couple of them here and I can show you if you guys can see.
Yeah, yes, please.
One's a turkey feather, and I'm not sure what this other one is. It's a very large feather, but yeah, I mean, I dip these and I can write with them. In fact, I have some ink right here. You want me to try it real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So dip this in here. You sort of slice the side of the, now this may or may not work. So we'll see what happens with, okay.
All right. I won't judge you either way.
So you can see
Look.
the line, you know?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
That is cool.
You can pretend you're one of the founding fathers. This is fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, a good fountain pen will really be great. Get a great line with it. I look around at sometimes auction houses or antique fairs looking for old fountain pens, but I have a few, so, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as the ink starts to go away, you know, from this, although there's quite a bit in here. Can you see that? It's holding.
Yeah, it looks.
It's very cool.
That's pretty impressive.
And you can get like a dry brush, but as you turn it, can you see that? You can get a really fine line if you turn this on its side.
Super cool.
Yeah, get a nice crosshatch going on.
Love a good crosshatch.
Yeah, little Joe Sacco action here. Or Linda Berry, maybe. Yeah,
definitely see some Linda Berry there. I have another question for you. It's not quite related to the pens, but okay. I mean, you've been with the New Yorker for quite some time. And how has your experience there like changed since you started? Do you still, you know, because I know, you know, cartoonists would go in and bring in their ideas and their pitches back when we could leave our houses and things like that. But I'm just wondering, like, how the process works for you nowadays and all of that.
You know, nowadays I don't go. Obviously, I don't go in anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put this away because I'm gonna get back to my drawing, because you know what, I can actually get some work done while I'm doing this presentation. Yeah, I don't go in anymore. There are meetings. Emma Allen is the cartoon editor, and I really enjoy Emma a lot. I think she's a terrific editor.
Yeah, Emma's great.
Yeah, you've worked with her, yes?
I've done a few comics with her. Yeah, she's she's really good editor.
Yeah, she's great. So they have the Tuesday meetings, and basically, I have to do cartoons for the syndicate every week. My syndicate, Tribune Media. Anyway, so I have to generate 6 cartoons every week.
Wow.
But New Yorker I'm contracted with them, and I have been for years. So they have the first right of refusal. So anything I kind of generate, I have to send to Emma first for her to take a look at.
Gotcha.
Which I do. And then anything she's not crazy about or doesn't think will fly ends up going into syndication. And anything that doesn't end up in syndication, or perhaps is a little too provocative for both syndication or the New Yorker, ends up in 7 days, which is great, because I'm really grateful to have 7 days for that outlet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not from Vermont, but I love just seeing, you know, what 7 days is doing. There's less and less of those sorts of publications these days, so I think it's really great.
Yeah, it is great. Yeah, for sure.
This is coming out very nicely.
Good. You know, I had a couple things that I wanted to tell. If there are any young people out there listening, actually, I'm just going to switch over to another drawing really quickly, if you don't mind. Do I have time to do this? Is this okay?
I think it should be okay. I think we're running a little bit ahead, so might as well.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Well, I'm going to put this under my hand. So there's just some things to know. Since we're working in graphite, I put a piece of paper under my hand because I don't want to smudge this. I know this is elementary for some people, but other people don't know. And, I was thinking earlier about drawing, and I'm such a huge drawing fanatic. And when you're working in nature and you're trying to draw things, a tree in this case, a pine tree, I spend so much time outside, and I try to memorize what I'm drawing. I try to see things with a certain intensity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not work. It's really love, what it is. So I try to really, with intention, take the time to understand, say, a tree. How is the tree constructed? All the while I'm thinking, God, that's such a beautiful tree. It's amazing. But, how will I be able to take this with me? And I think that's one of the reasons we take pictures. Perhaps it's one of the reasons we make pictures, is we want to hang on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I'm turning this pencil. I've made this tree. The texture of the tree actually, in some ways, resembles a pine tree, and that's really intentional. But it all comes from not looking at photographs of pine trees, which I do not recommend. I'm not a fan of working from photographs. I do on occasion, but I think if you want to understand what it is that you're drawing, whether it's the human form, a tree, a mountain, an animal, you need to stare at the animal, sometimes for years. I know that sounds a little daunting, but that's just the way that I do it. And if you look at someone like Norman Rockwell, and you can certainly appreciate the draftsmanship and the sort of paint quality, and you compare Rockwell's work with a Turner or an Edward Hopper, for that matter, and you can see there's a clear distinction between the quality of life in the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it's a lesson that I believe in. So
I really appreciate that insight. I mean, I'm sure we could all just sit here and just watch you draw this for a long time. It's very relaxing and calming. And but we actually gotta jump to questions right now, and I'm sure there's plenty of them out there. So I just want to thank you again for letting us see your process. So we're gonna open it up to questions from the audience. So if you have a question, just type it in the comments section of YouTube, and we'll make sure that we try to have them answered for you. All right. Looks like we got our first question. Are you ready to go?
I'm good, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So our first question is: are the scenes where you and Steve visit New York City, go to the woods, etc., actually real, or did you make them up?
They are not real. They are, in some ways, they are real, but no, they're not real. Steve hasn't been to. I've been to New York, and we've hung out at his place, but he's not been to New Hampshire. And but I'll tell you, sometimes it really, I don't know, in some weird way, through those strips, he was here in New Hampshire. That's the only way I can explain it. But no, technically he wasn't here. No.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, great work, Harry. How long did Steve Martin have to beg you to work with him?
It didn't take long. It's funny because the cool thing about Steve is he really does appreciate the drawings. And I love that about him. He'll actually point out certain things in my drawings that are reminiscent of, Winslow Homer or Edward Hopper or someone else, very specific qualities. that only a true art enthusiast would, or art appreciator, or would be able to notice, and that means a lot to me. But he doesn't take my drawings for granted at all, and that was a concern of mine. Yeah, he's very grateful, and I am too, of course. But yeah, didn't take long.
Thank you. Next question. Were you recruited by the New Yorker based on your work you'd already done, or did you pitch to them?
I pitched to them in 1997. I was in a rare bookstore in Nyack, New York, with my son, who was probably 4 at the time. And I pulled out a book of Charles Addams cartoons, and I bought the book, went to the park with my son. He ran around the playground, and I flipped through the pages of this Charles Addams collection. At the time, I was illustrating book covers. But when I was looking at these cartoons, a lot of stuff, I had kind of an epiphany a little bit. And I had recalled when I was a kid, we used to get the New Yorker every day, or I should say every week, to our house. And I would always go to Addams. I was really taken with his rendering, the gags, and they were lush, all that stuff. So I went back to my tiny bedroom apartment. I was paying off student loans at the time, and I almost declared bankruptcy. And I knocked off about 7 or 8 black and white wash cartoons. And I sent those, made copies, and sent them to the New Yorker. They were supposed to go to the cartoon editor, but they made it to Françoise Mouly, who's still the current cover art editor. And she sent me back a letter saying, I know this is a long shot, but why don't you take a stab at a few cover sketches? And I still have that letter.
Great, thank you. Next question. Regarding your conversation about observing the natural world, have you found ways to hone that power of observation for the narrative in your drawing?
Find ways to hone the power of observation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I take an LSD recently. That really helps. Is that okay that I say that? Oh, it's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I find that I do find that sometimes psychedelics can help you connect to nature in a very profound way. So I don't recommend that. It worked for me, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I have a deep connection to nature, though, that is inexplicable to me. I probably had it before, taking psychedelics, but the connection to my work and to drawing from nature is, it's a memory thing where I go out, and like I said before, with great intention, I look at everything in nature. Whether it's a salamander, this is actually a good time of year to look for salamanders, and fungi are everywhere. So I just look at these things very closely, and I don't forget it. So when I have to draw them, I'm able to recall them and access them. I'm sure that as I get older, that'll become less and less. But for now, I hope that answered the question.
All right, let's see. Sorry. Next question. No real naked tick check? ?
No, there wasn't a real naked tick check. Not with Steve, I should say.
Thanks for clearing that up.
There could be. He's coming up here. I'm getting him to New Hampshire, so.
Do you follow a regular daily work schedule or routine?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I basically wake up at 6, and I lay in bed reading, writing, journaling for 3 or 4 hours. I get up around 11, and make coffee, come downstairs, sit at my desk until the sun starts to stream through my window here, because it's a problem. And then I go outside. So I go outside for 4 hours when the weather's nice, until the sun starts to drop and it's not reflecting on my desk, because I want to be outside when the sun is out. And then I'll work from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock till about 10 or 11, generally, if I feel pretty good. And the work in bed is, I'm a huge fan of the New York Review of Books. I love that magazine, that periodical. So I read that religiously, and I get a lot of cartoon ideas from reading that in bed. And I'll write them in, my various journals. I can show you quickly. Do we have time to quickly look at this? I'll find a page that's doesn't have pornographic drawings on it, but this is kind of like my journal, and it's filled with cartoon ideas and various, drawings and things like that. Yeah, so I'll spend a lot of time doing that in the morning, and usually at night it's like a wrap up. So
great, thank you. By the way, I just love seeing sketchbooks, so thanks for sharing that with us. Next question, isn't cartooning literally sketch comedy? How do you think about the still image versus moving forms like skits and film?
I've never really considered that before. I'm a huge fan of sketch comedy. I'm trying to think of one. I don't know. It's just a different form. You've got, comics is a different form than, one is film. But it's all writing. It's all quality writing. So if someone is probably, you could turn any number of comic strips into sketch comedy, I would imagine. It may or may not translate, but comic strips are, look at Nick Darnasso's Sabrina. That's not comedy, but yeah, you can take a lot of, I'm looking at a Dagwood strip a Blondie strip in front of me, and that this whole Sunday strip could be, turned into a comic sketch. I think that, there's a correlation, not just in humor, but in the telling of some story that is humorous. But I think they're just two different ways of communicating comedy, I think. My son's here. I can ask him. He knows more about this than I do. He's not going to talk. He's just my tech guy.
I think that was a really good answer, personally. But so we have a few more questions. What female artists and cartoonists have influenced you?
You say female cartoonists?
Yes.
Alison Bechtel for sure. Linda Barry. Roz Chast is a friend of mine, and so's Alison. I haven't met Linda Barry. And there's Michelle Ollie Witt. I'm familiar with your work now, and
thank you.
The thing is, I don't actually. My son actually. Young people know more about this than I do. I don't surf Instagram, so I don't seek out new cartoonists. I don't want to say I don't have the time. It's just not something I do. I've never done it. I've done 25 children's books. And if you ask me, do I like so-and-so? I don't even know who they are. There was a time when I would spend the hours looking what's out there and what people are doing. I don't really do it anymore. So I'm a little out of the loop. And I think that perhaps might be a generational thing. Maybe when you're a certain age, that's just something you do. But I'm 57, so unless somebody puts something in my face, I'm not looking at comics. Yeah, I don't.
As a follow-up, what are your favorite, can you name some of your favorite cartoonists in general, like people who have been influential to you?
Yeah, certainly Peanuts has had a huge impact on me, just because when I was a kid, it pulled me in because you had this world of children who were living like adults and dealing with really adult issues like depression, anxiety, all sorts of stuff, and each character had a certain aspect to them that I could see either in me or someone I knew. And so definitely Peanuts. I liked Nancy because it was so easy to just look at and get. I wasn't a fan of books. I didn't white words on a piece of paper. It just struck me as pretty boring when I was a kid. So when I was in school, it was far more enticing for me to look out the window, or look at some kid picking his nose to the left of me than it was for me to, engage with really a pretty boring thing, which books can be. At least they can be for someone like me at that point in my life.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny that you say that because I feel like it's sometimes hard to admit that, but I was similar when I was younger. I love comics and I love being outside and stuff like that. And I wasn't necessarily a traditional bookworm, so I get that.
Yeah, and that's ultimately why I think I gravitated towards comics, because I'm a picture person, and I've always been a visual person. Even now when I read, if I read the New York Review of Books, I read it out loud in like a BBC guy's voice, partially to entertain myself, but also it's just, I don't know. Maybe
no need to explain.
Right, there you go.
Thank you. Do you have any advice for cartoonists starting out and looking to establish themselves?
Yeah. I've said this before, but it's interesting. I mean, there are so many avenues now with Instagram and online comics are fantastic. I would say write. I think writing is huge. So if you're starting out, I think just writing, continuously getting better at being a solid writer. I would say read as much as you possibly can. And don't draw from photographs. Go outside, set yourself up a stool and a pad of paper and sit there, throw some headphones on and draw a tree and do that for 3 straight hours and try to do that 3 or 4 days a week. You'll get better and better and better and better. And that's ultimately what you want. You want these 2 paths of proficiency with your craft, your drawing, painting, and the path of your writing to move together at some point. And that's when you're free. That's called freedom. And it may not happen until you're 30 or 35 or maybe when you're 40. But if you keep moving in that direction, it's a sincere direction. I think you'll be happy.
I think that's good advice. I think there's also a lot of pressure to like have achieved all of that when you're super young, but it's kind of a journey and people have their own pace, for that. So
yeah. Well, I was a waiter until I was 35. So, I mean, I was very good at art, but I didn't actually become successful until I was in my mid 30s, late 30s. I mean, what's 2021? Yeah, my first cover for the New Yorker was 1997. So,
some good perspective. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end. So I want to give you one more question. I know we have plenty more we could have gotten to, but let's see. So one viewer is wondering, have you tried to draw digitally on a tablet or a laptop?
No, he doesn't like it. Here's why. Because he finds he can draw way faster with his actual hands. Why would he draw on a laptop with a stylus? It's absurd. Now, I'm not knocking it if you can do it. God bless you.
There you have it, folks. Does your puppet sorry, do they have a name?
This is Sheepy, and I had illustrated a book called My Favorite Pet, My Favorite Pets by Jeannie Birdsall, and I ended up getting this fantastic little hand puppet.
Yeah, Whit. It's so nice. You got to come to Cornish. Oh, we forgot to talk about the Cornish residency.
Can you give us a very quick rundown before we head out?
Yeah, I created with the Center for Cartoon Studies the CCS Cornish Residency Fellowship Program. Nick Dernasso was our first resident. Then we had Allie Fitzgerald and Carabine. We had to take a year off because of this. Oh no, we had Tommy Parrish. I almost forgot Tommy Parrish too. So we had to take a year off because of COVID. But it's a month-long residency program here in Cornish, New Hampshire, and the adjacent home from where I live. And there's a video online. If you go to the CCS website, you can watch a video that explains everything. And yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. And that's an excellent group of cartoonists, by the way, that you mentioned. So
yeah,
head to the website. So that's all the time we have for today. Before we wrap up, I want to thank you, Harry, for sharing some insights from your life, from your process, all of that. We're really happy to watch you draw and just to hear what you had to say about your collaboration and your solo work. I want to thank the Leslie Center for the Humanities, the Hopkins Center, and for the Will and Ann Family Foundation. So stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the upcoming weekend, and bye, Lamb. What's his name?
Bye, Whit.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.